Taiwan is bursting with heaps of fun places to explore. Join me, Amber Hatfield, as I hit up travel hotspots, soak up some culture, and hunt down hidden gems. Let's go! Hi and welcome back to another episode of Let's Go. I'm your host, Amber Hatfield. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Sarah. Sarah has been on the show once before. What did you talk about last time? Penghu. So this time, Sarah Chau is back on my show and she's going to be talking about her recent trip to Japan. I want to start with, when did you go to Japan?
We went in November, so I went with my fiance. It was his first time. So I went back in 2018 by myself, and that was my favorite place I've ever visited. So I was like, we have to go. And he hasn't been, and I feel like he's lived in Taiwan for so long, he should go. And it's also the most visited country, I feel like, that everybody's going right now.
It's so easy to get to Japan from Taiwan. I'm so surprised that he has not been before.
So I went for 4 nights, and then 5 nights and 4 days. And I got excited thinking about Japan because I was like, oh, November will be autumn leaves. It will be pretty, and there'll be snow on Mount Fuji, and it will be Christmas time in Disney. So I was like, this is a perfect time for us to go.
So before you went, you probably did a lot of planning for your trip.
Yeah. So I looked up the flights and I couldn't miss off work, so I had to do 2 different flights. One was Tiger Air, and then the next one was Peach Airline. So they're kind of like the budget airlines.
Yeah.
But it works and it's cheaper. Our flight left at 9 p.m. and we got there at 1 a.m. So all the MRTs were not running at that time. So we got a taxi to our hotel, and at that time I think it was about $60, like US dollars.
It's quite expensive.
Yeah, it's quite expensive for the taxi. But before that, lines at the airport were really long. There was 2 or 3 checks before you can get out of the airport. And so we didn't know. And I think that at 1 a.m. you're kind of antsy and just so tired. You just want to get out of there.
Yeah.
But finally we were out, and the taxis were really cool. They looked so kawaii, everything's so cute there.
Did you fly to Tokyo then?
Yeah, so we fly to Haneda, which is a closer airport than Narita, I believe so. So, and it took almost an hour, 15 minutes to their hotel. I was looking up different hotels, and one of my friends stayed at the Godzilla Hotel in Shinjuku. And so I originally booked it there, and then I just looked at it again to make sure, is it close to the MRT, the railroad system? Because I'm thinking, if it's not close, my fiance is not going to want to walk anywhere. So I decided not to get that hotel, and I got this other budget hotel. It's called APA Hotel. And it's nice because they have an onsen there, a hot spring there. So I loved it. Every night after a long day, we would just go and relax there, take a shower, go to the onsen, and then go back to our hotel and sleep.
Is this a public onsen in the hotel, for everybody to share, or is in your room you have your own kind of hot spring bath, similar to what people have in Taiwan hotels?
It's the public one because, man, their rooms are so tiny. There's no space at all. It's kind of like you're living in a box.
Okay.
But they are pretty smart with the use of space. Just think of it as a double bed. You walk in, the bathroom's to the left, and then the double bed, and then there's a little desk right there. And then in the bathroom, sink is the sink is a shower and a sink at the same time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but then there's a little bathtub on the side. But it was really tiny. We had 2 suitcases, and the whole floor was just our suitcase. So,
what is the Godzilla Hotel? Is it a hotel that looks like Godzilla?
Literally, there's Godzilla outside, a big Godzilla figurine outside.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I thought that would have been cool. My friend was like, but don't expect a lot. It's really small. And I was like, I think every hotel in Japan is small. But yeah, we got to their hotel. It was really nice. But we got back at 2 a.m. So let's wake up at 8 or 9. So we got a couple hours of sleep. And then when we woke up, the first thing we wanted to do was eat sushi.
for breakfast.
Yeah. And I mean, it's open during that time. So we went straight to the Tsujiki fish market. This is the first place I've ever had sushi, like raw sushi, in Japan when I went back in 2018. So that's why I was like, I have to go back to the place where I tried sushi for the first time.
And is that like in central Tokyo?
Yeah, so it's in Tokyo. The Tsujiki fish market actually moved. I can't tell you much of like where it is exactly. So they moved to a new location. And at the time I went, there was only one Sushi Dai, but now there's a lot of different chains. Yeah.
Okay.
When I originally went in the first time, I went to the fish market to see if we can like catch the auction, the auctioning of the fish.
Oh.
And we went at about like, I think 4 a.m. and it was too full at that time. So we decided to eat at the sushi place because this is where my cousin wanted to eat. And that day was actually my birthday too. And so we were waiting in line and we were waiting about 3 hours in line. And finally the person there working showed us the menu. Was like, what do you want to order? And so there is one option that says not raw. And I mean, at that time, I never had eaten raw fish because I just said I didn't like it because my parents told me it wasn't like really good for you. So I was like, okay, I don't want to eat it. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to order this. And he was like, oh, no, you don't order that. Like you should order the raw, like omakase. And I was like thinking to myself, why is it on the menu if you don't want me to like order it? And so the person behind us was like, really, like if you've never tried raw sushi in Japan, you really should try it. And I felt like peer pressure. I was like, okay, I'll just try it. In my mind I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it. And then when I finally sat down and like tried every dish, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
You're obsessed
like like all the meat, like the fish like melts in your mouth, and it was just so delicious. So ever since then I've been eating sushi.
What kind of fish was it?
So I think there was tuna that was caught that day. What? Yeah, we had like flounder, amberjack, and then I love the egg, the tamago. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I love the steamed eggs in Japan. I feel like it's nice and warm and just like really yummy. But yeah, so there was just different types of fish that we had, and it's interesting because I feel like if you're in like America or other places, most foreigners, we like to eat salmon, but I feel like locals don't eat salmon a lot.
Okay.
That's what we noticed, like being there. But I also love like the fresh wasabi and the ginger.
Are you good with wasabi? Because when I eat wasabi, I just can't take it.
Well, usually I sneeze a lot, but the fresh wasabi from Japan it just tastes really good. But I always like don't know if it's rude to be like, I want soy sauce with it, or I want more wasabi. I feel like whatever the sushi chef just gives you, you just have to eat it like that.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then sometimes you just have to just eat with your hands too.
I'd love it if you can describe the market, because I went to Japan before when I went to Tokyo, but I never went to this market. So what is it like inside? Because I went to a really big fish market in Korea, and that was giant, and there's all these stalls that are selling it, and then you have to buy it, and then you go upstairs to restaurants and then they cook it upstairs for you. That's how that big fish market works. But how is this? Is it like all the fish are kind of coming in from outside and everything's happening, lots of people? Like, what's the vibe like?
I would say there's just like a lot of shops around it, and then kind of think of like the traditional market from Taiwan, kind of like stalls like that by each line, and then they're selling different type of foods. But I would say it's more like elevated than Taiwan's. And I feel like the fish markets over there, it was like kind of just like shops.
Okay. Like stalls kind of outside?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think that they also made it more touristy in a way too, because I noticed that all the prices there were more expensive. So we were so full by then, but there was actually so much more like good food there. Like there were a lot of people with fresh fish, and you can end up and eat the sashimi. And there was lots of fruits, beef, because they're also known for like wagyu, so like skewered wagyu. I ended up just getting, what's that, pink and white and red strawberries, and also grapes, because I love fruit. So
okay, so it's just also has everything. It's not just a fish market.
Yeah, it really just has a lot of different foods. I feel like it's a place to go though to try all those different type of foods. I feel like if we didn't eat as much at Sushi Dai, we would have eaten out at the market.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about other things that you did on your trip.
Yeah, so after the market, we went to Harajuku area and we shopped around there. And that area is like a fashion hub, and they have a lot of local Japanese shops, and we noticed that there was a lot of thrift shops as well. So it was really cool to see their different like street style and their fashion, because they have a lot of great fashion. We ended up going to a Uniqlo that was about 5 stories. So we ended up like shopping there for 2 hours, and we actually got the like little vest jacket that I'm wearing right now. Me and my fiance got matching ones, but by like the second hour of like going back and forth into the fitting rooms and trying things on, we were so tired. My fiance wanted to go back home because we were holding a lot of stuff, and he said it was heavy, but I was like, oh, let's go look at the Christmas lights, because there's a place where there's Christmas lights and you can see the Tokyo Tower. So our friend told us just go to the Grand Hyatt Hotel. And so I was like, can we just make one stop to the Grand Hyatt Hotel, look at the Christmas lights, and then go back? And he said, yeah.
So the Grand Hyatt Hotel is like you're viewing it from a viewing platform up above and you're looking down on things?
So I just followed to the Grand Hyatt Hotels, and then I realized that it was called, what is it called? Roppongi Hills. So that area is where the Christmas lights are. It's kind of like the bougie area, I feel like, since the Grand Hyatt's there. So you walk and there's a lot of different shops, and they're just like blue Christmas lights on trees. So it's really pretty. But it was funny because you know exactly where the picture spot is, because it's like in the middle of the street, and there's this guy just like yelling like, get off, when because there'll be a red light, right? So when there's a red light, everybody will just go into the middle and try to take the photos and the videos, and then when it counts down, he'll be like yelling like, get off the street, and then everyone will like run off and then do it over and over again. So I felt like his job was so hard, like having to yell at people.
So you mean the red light as in like it's in the middle of the road?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's like the best picture spot. And actually I was thinking like, why does he have to yell? Like there's a countdown. But when I took the videos and pictures, I wasn't even focused on anything else but trying to take it. So I now understand like he had to yell to like make sure that we need to leave, or else the cars couldn't go through.
So he's like a traffic warden.
Yeah, okay. He's a traffic warden. It was so funny. So we got a couple shots, and then after that we went back to our hotel, and then we went to the onsen, and they have the shower, and then you sit down, and then they also have a hairbrush and a hair dryer and everything there for you to like freshen up.
So what other things did you do? You mentioned before that you wanted to do like Disney Christmas stuff. Did you go to Disneyland?
So the next day we went, it was Saturday, and I had planned to go to see Mount Fuji. And one of my friends just went to Mount Fuji, and he also did the Click tour. So I asked him like, oh, which tour did you do? Because there's actually a lot of different tours on Klook. And so I did the exact same one he did, and it was just like 5 must-visit place to see Mount Fuji. And it was during Thanksgiving when I bought the tickets, so there was like a sale, so I got a good amount off. So the ticket was only about $50.
Oh
yeah, so I felt like, oh, that's really good, because if you were to go to Mount Fuji yourself, I think it's complicated and it takes really long. At least this tour, like there's a bus that drives you there, and you just have to sleep on the bus, and then they take you to all the places. To get to Mount Fuji, it took about like 3 hours.
It's not really close to central
it's not
Tokyo.
Close. Yeah. But I'm thankful during our time, because 2 weeks before that, they said that there wasn't snow on Mount Fuji, and this is like the first time in like maybe like 50 years this has happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I really want to see the snow on Mount Fuji. So we got lucky that there was snow on Mount Fuji.
So it was like a snow cap on the top.
Yeah, it was really pretty. Like after like 2 hours, we finally got to see Mount Fuji in our viewpoint. So they kept on driving closer and closer, and then we finally saw it, and it was just so beautiful, like the snow caps. And it was really clear that day for us. So we feel like really lucky. Our first stop was kind of like on a street somewhere, and we were thinking like, how are we gonna take pictures on the street? Because we kind of had to do the same thing. Like the red light, you go in the middle, and then just take a photo. And so that's kind of what we did. And I'm lucky because I have an iPhone 16 and you can zoom in and it just looks crystal clear. So we went there for the first stop and then hopped on the back on the bus. And then we went to the most iconic spot, and it's called the Arakuyama Seijin Park. So that's where basically you have to hike a little, and then there's like a pagoda there, and on the background is like Mount Fuji. And it's really pretty too because the autumn leaves are there. People always go there too during cherry blossom season because that's like the most iconic picture spot as well. As you hike up, it's just different viewpoints of Mount Fuji. We only had about 40 minutes total there, so it was kind of like rushed.
Yeah,
like we just like walked really, really, really fast, went up, and then took a bunch of photos, and then went back down. And then, yeah, just taking a bunch of photos, to be honest.
Yeah. That's often the case when you go on an organized tour, is that you don't really have enough time at each place that you go.
Yeah, that's the only downside of it, because as much as we wanted to enjoy the place, we couldn't because there is a time limit. So basically, it's kind of like you enter and then there's a bunch of stairs. So there's a bunch of stairs. I don't know how many. There's just a lot, just stairs all the way up. And then on the very top, then there's the pagoda and then just the leaves right there. It's kind of like a bleacher style.
Oh, okay.
When you're up, you're at a bleacher style, and then you're looking out at Mount Fuji and the pagoda, which I think if there wasn't a lot of people, it would be pretty to just sit there and just look and enjoy the view. But I mean, of course, at tourist spots, you can't enjoy anything because there's just lots of people. And the weather was really cold, but when I went up, I got really hot. So I'm just like taking off my jacket. I feel like everyone's like, oh, it looks, because I'm wearing short sleeve and people are thinking I'm probably crazy because to me, it's hot.
I mean, warm. You're hiking. It gets hot, right?
Yeah.
You're hiking upstairs.
There's just also, just like I said, like at tourist spots, it's really hard to enjoy like the viewpoints and things just because there are like many people.
Yeah, you normally need to go to places really early in the morning, right?
Yeah.
You have to get on a tour that takes you there at like 3 a.m. and get there really early, or you have to get there really early by yourself to be able to enjoy it without having people around.
Yeah.
That's all for today's episode of Let's Go. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next week in another episode of Let's Go. See you there.